Hello and welcome back to Down to the Tyre. Today I'm joined by a driver who you will probably recognise from either F3 or F2, and he's doing Euroformula Open this year, which I know a lot of people, myself included, are very, very excited about. It's Brad Benavides. How are you today, Brad? I know you've said you're not actually too well today.
Yeah. Hi, Gemma. I just want to say that it's a pleasure being here with you. I'm very grateful for you having me. And yeah, I'm actually not feeling in my best state at the moment. I got a little bit of a cold, but nah, it's all right.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better than you were a few days ago, at least. And I really appreciate you coming on, especially when you're not feeling 100%.
Nah, it's okay. Us drivers, sometimes we imagine we have to get in the car even if we're sick or whatever. So like I feel like um we can adapt well to any circumstance, because we've had to in the past, so it's totally fine. No worries.
Well, that's a great skill to have. Firstly, I wanted to ask because I know on social media and everything, apart from the Euroformula Open announcement, which we're obviously going to talk about, but we've not actually heard too much from you in the past few months on social media outside of that announcement. So I just kind of wanted to ask how the past few months have been for you and what you've kind of been up to.
Yeah, I've definitely haven't been very active on social media, on my Instagram at least. Um Ever since the last round that I did of F2 in Budapest. And it was to my surprise just before the Spa race weekend that I wasn't going to race in it, literally the week on the race week. I just, I sort of was in shock for like a couple of weeks, couple of months per se. And I just didn't really much to share in that moment last year until when I had a couple of events, like I did the sim event in Singapore. So I mean, I shared that, but I never really formally came out with my followers and gave a sort of an explanation or what I felt with how the season sort of basically terminated, or what was I gonna do. I basically had no follow up from my followers last year, literally from August up to never really. Um, but yeah, I mean, I sort of just approached it like, um, if I have to, if I have good news, I'll share it. And if I don't have good news, I would just stay absent, sort of nonchalant on the topic because I don't know. I sort of just use my Insta profile just as that, like a communicator for just any good news. And whenever it's about bad news or whatever, or anything that doesn't have to do with the continuation of my racing career, like there's no reason for me to be on Instagram. Literally, I just would, if in the case, for example, that I'm just like not racing anymore, I would literally just, and you know how there's like an option to disactivate your Instagram. I would literally just deactivate it, and that's it. The only reason why I use Instagram is for people to, to have yeah, that sort of following of what I'm doing in my professional racing career. But yeah.
Well, luckily, some very good news did get posted recently. And I think just looking through the comments, the support, just to see you back in a racing championship this year, back on track, there's been so many positive comments, people saying they're so glad that you're going to be continuing racing. What's that been like on your side after that period of absence?
Yeah, I mean, I know that ever since I did that podcast with my buddies in pit stop, there was a lot of people that sort of heard my story, the ones that actually surprisingly went to the YouTube video and watched and heard much of my story. Um, to my surprise, there was a lot of people that actually did that, and from then on, I actually sort of gained an audience and gained people that were genuinely intrigued by my story and who I was, and so therefore, from then on, um, all my races or my results or my direction and whatever I was doing in each moment. They were very supportive. I gained a lot of supporters, and they were incredibly supportive. And to be honest, it was a new experience in my life. You know, it's obviously a new experience to gain people that are actually behind you and supporting you. And to be honest, it was a feeling like no other. Like I guess I sort of imagined before, you know, entering Formula 2 or entering Formula 3, what it might feel like to be sort of like a what do they call it? Like just like a role model sort of type athlete, some people look up to. I would sort of just imagine what it would feel like to have like people that would support you, but it's never like when you're actually having the people that are supporting you. So all I know is that once I actually had the people that were behind me and are actually supporting me, it feels so amazing, and I'm just like so grateful for it because it's priceless. I'm almost lost for words to be able to describe, what it feels like and how grateful I am for it. But it's definitely um sort of like an unquantifiable, untangible um energy, a force behind me that yeah, that I'm really grateful to have. And so now when I posted my news on the Euroformula um for this year, and the continuation of all of these people that were supporting me last year were still there for me this year. That I don't know, it brought a sentiment to my yeah to my I don't know, yeah, to my feelings. It really, I don't know, brought me to my feelings, and I was really grateful for that as well, that people still yeah, kept loyal per se, to me in my driving career.
Yeah, because I feel like when that pit stop episode came out, I remember it kind of being everywhere. A lot of people were talking about it. And I think it was because it was maybe one of the first times that I think a feeder series driver has come out and been so open and honest about how difficult it can be. And I feel like a lot of people have this assumption that all drivers just have endless money to put into their careers. And I think you really highlighted that that isn't the reality. So I think a lot of people really admired your honesty there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't recall um of other podcasts or other moments where drivers are sort of being like really real with with the interviewer or with the people that they're talking to, and sharing that publicly. Um, but yeah, definitely, I think that podcast that I did apparently really did mark a moment where somebody's actually talking about a sort of a reality of quite a lot of drivers that some people just didn't know and hadn't come about that side of racing yet. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we've spoken about the fact that your F2 season got cut short last year quite suddenly. Now you're doing Euroformula Open, which is, I'd say, a step down in the feeder series ladder in terms of the hierarchy. And I feel like a lot of drivers wouldn't be brave enough to do that. I was wondering what your process was in terms of deciding to do that and, maybe to take a step back from Formula 2 in your career?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not my decision, to take the step back, and it wasn't my decision either to take the step back from F2 last year in the moment that I had to step back last year. So it's sort of just the direction that let's say like it's sort of destiny. Right? It's my fate. It's just where I have to go this year because it's the only place that I can go. And since it's one of the only places that I can go at the moment, not because of my budget or because of um what I can decide on, it's mainly because of what my sponsors at the moment are willing to help me out with. which is in Euroformula. Um, Considering that, of course, it's a step down the feeder series ladder. If you analyze it, you know, very objectively and try to take out all of the pros rather than the cons, which is apart from the obvious, the cons that there are, which is that this is a step down. But if you analyze very objectively the pros, it's a very, let's say, technical car. As a racing driver, driving that car is really gonna it's really gonna, let's say, bring out the most technical version that you can have as a driver other than racing in a Formula One car, in my opinion, and in many other, let's say, very high quality professional engineers or people that are really into the racing world, and just people with a very high quality judgment on racing overall, basically. Because like I said, the car is so it's a very low. It doesn't weigh a lot, the car. It's very high downforce, and so that basically just gives a combination, sort of like a compromise relative to Formula One. Like it's comparable to what you're gonna want to do with the pedals with the Formula One, with all the downforce, with the speed that you carry in the corners, the approach that you have to the medium, slow, fast speed corners. So so yeah, in terms of what I can maximize and how I can, let's say, refine like myself as a driver, it's a really good championship. So yeah, I'm not let's say, at all um sad or disappointed in the direction that my racing career is having to take at the moment, because if I know that if I make the most out of it, um, I can really, well, first of all, I can win the championship, and second of all, I could just become a really, really good version of myself, and who knows, maybe I couldn't, you know, then develop and evolve into the better version or the best version of myself compared to if I'd stay in Formula 2. Maybe I would grow more and this year in Euroformula than I'd grow if I stayed in F2 and I did another year in F2 this year. So you never know.
That's honestly how I saw it and how I interpreted it when you announced it, what you just said. I think I honestly saw it as I didn't think when I saw it, oh, it's a step down, it's a step backwards. I fully viewed it as a positive move because everything you've said about the technical side of Euroformula Open, as well as the fact that it's undeniable that you are definitely in good stead to get the championship as well this year. I feel like honestly it's a really, really solid decision. And I think a lot of people, beyond just being really happy to see you racing, I think a lot of people from what I've seen agree with me. And obviously you aren't a rookie to the series either because you've competed in it previously. How do you think that previous experience you've got in Formula Open is going to help you this year?
So basically, I did the last 3 rounds of the Euroformula Championship in 2021 with Carlin. Um, and just overall, sort of reviewing my single seater career up to now, compared to the people around me, especially when I was in Formula 2, or even in Formula 3, or even in Euroformula, or in any championship that I have been, but obviously, especially more Formula 2, because there really people were ultimately prepared, and compared to them, I haven't had a very, let's say, um, a lot of experience, really. I started basically Formula or single seater racing in 2021. Okay, I did 1 year in 2019, but I did half a season in the Formula Renault. 2020, I didn't do anything because of COVID, not even karting. 2021, I did again half a season Formula Regional. but not learning a lot. With a bad team, I mean, not with a bad team, but with a not a very competitive car, and and not with the proper management. So like, what I'm trying to say is, I haven't really had enough time and enough, let's say, development as a racing driver as the other people around me. And and when I was in Euroformula in 2021, it was sort of like, relatively speaking, um, the early stages of my racing career in single seaters. And so, yeah, they were still representative to me in my knowledge of how I'm driving the Euro Formula nowadays. But let's say that who I am as a driver really started, or really, let's say, kick started in by the end of 2021. Literally 2021, mainly 2022, and last year. So yeah, it definitely helps me, but yeah, I don't know what else more to say on that. It's not like it's not like I'm um not a rookie. I'm obviously not a rookie. Um, but it's not like it's not like I've done like 2 years in the championship. It's not like I'm the ultimate experienced guru of the championship.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. Like you kind of like dipped your toe in a little bit, did a few rounds, but not a full season or anything. So that makes sense that it will help, but obviously it's limited in the sense that, yeah, it's not the most experience in the championship. But am I right in thinking that when you did it with Carlin, you did end up in the points quite a few times and it was successful based on the fact that you only hopped in for those last few rounds?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's any different towards what I would have done anyways if I would have been a much worse driver, in the sense that there was like 8 drivers or 9 or maybe 10. No, okay, maybe it was like there were like 12, I think, in the 3 rounds that I did in 2021. 12 drivers, but the 12 drivers, if there's 2 DNFs, I'm in the points. So like, so yeah, I mean, the first round that year in Austria, I did pretty bad, but then in Monza and Barcelona, they weren't too bad. It was a pretty high level of the top 5 of the grid in that moment, and I was sort of like fluctuating between that top 5 in both of those rounds. So it was quite decent, especially since Carlin in that year in Euro Formula, they were a little bit just behind Motor Park. So yeah. What I meant to say with what we were talking about before, by the way, I was just thinking of it, reflecting of what I had said before. Just to summarize, um, yeah, I have experience, but like I said, this happened in 2021, right? And we're in 2024. It's been quite some time, and I only did 3 rounds. And like I said, it was a bit of in the start of my career. That doesn't mean that, yes, I do have an experience with the car, and so yes, I have an advantage towards the rookies that are going to be there. But it's not that massive. That's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. And you mentioned Motor Park and you're driving for them this year. Obviously, they're kind of the top team of Euroformula Open, I think we can say. How has it been kind of integrating yourself with that team, familiarizing yourself with everything and the new environment and everything?
Well, they have a really good history in racing. They've worked with plenty of um high caliber drivers, and they themselves are really high caliber, a structure as a team. They really know what they're doing. They really know what they're talking about, basically, when I'm with them, when I'm working with them. Um, they know their stuff, basically, and yeah, I've learned a lot actually from them. Surprisingly more than I've learned from other teams that supposedly would naturally know more or would seem more professional, like for example, AKA last year or the year before that. So, or any other of the years, actually, they're the most, in my opinion, the most professional team that I've been with. Uh, to up to now. And so yeah, I think I've emerged with them quite well, especially because of my admiration that I have towards them. That just gives me, you know, more. mm, it makes me more keen to learn from them and to work hard with them. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think we've even mentioned this yet, but you topped the winter testing sessions. Can't believe we've not said that yet already. So, how much confidence does that give you going into the season? Because I feel like with testing, a lot of people always say, "Oh, don't read in too much into it. It might not be representative, but it must give you a level of confidence going into it."
Oh yeah, the winter test. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple of so like we had the winter test, the official winter test of Barcelona, but then we also had the post season test last year in December in Barcelona as well. And then we've had the private test as well. And so far, let's say, yeah, I've always been let's say the lead driver, the reference driver for the team or for the championship. Sometimes by a good margin, sometimes by a finer margin. But it's definitely not, let's say, comparable or like you said, representative. Not only I mean, for the championship, I think it is representative, but at least representative in terms of in the grand scheme of things compared to, Formula 2 championship level, Formula FIA F3 championship level. Mm, I'm not so sure how objectively representative it can be for comparison measures. I think I think it's really just sort of like an inside job for myself to know, okay, this is how much I learned, this is how much I know I improved, and just quantify it, via my own self, really. Which I know has been still, in my opinion, and in what I've been able to um, uh, judge based on my performance, that yeah, I have uh, learned, quite a bit, and I have refined myself quite a bit with this new car and with this really good new team. And so, yeah, it's very positive.
Absolutely. And that must make you feel really good going into the season, knowing you've got a good team behind you and all of that.
Yeah, yeah, I know that that my team, Motor Park, they're very intellectual, they're very practical as well, and they believe in me. They believe in, just if you're doing the things in the right way, if you approach racing as sort of like as a physics class, like, because at the end of the day, it's all about physics. Um, and that's it. It's a very objective world, really, a very practical world. And if you're doing things right, the results accompany you, and with my team, they're people that think this way, and based on that, they believe in me very much because they've seen how, or basically we both have integrated very well, and we know that we mutually understand this aspect of the racing. That at the end of the day, if you're doing the things right, it's in a good direction and it's good. So that's why they believe in me, because we have this good synergies. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Are there any tracks that are coming up on the calendar? Obviously, start of April now, season starts at the end of this month. Are there any tracks or any particular rounds that you're really looking forward to? Ones that you've performed well at in the past, ones that you feel that your driving style suits, things like that?
Well, the first two rounds, I actually have never been to those tracks. So Portimao and Hockenheim, I've never been there. I've been to Portimao for 2 days of testings in a GP3 car, but I never raced there. And then Hockenheim, I've never been there altogether. But then Spa, of course, I've been there, and I've in the races that I've only ever done there, I've always been really competitive for some reason. I was always within the top five in both times that I've been there. And but yeah, so and then after that, um, obviously I know Budapest, I know Austria, I know Barcelona, I know Monza. What other track? I think that's pretty much it. Off the top of my head. Yeah, those are all the tracks because it's so the 8 rounds. First is Portimao, then it's Hockenheim, then it's Spa, which I know very well. I think, and it's Budapest. So Spa, Budapest, Austria, um, Barcelona, Monza, and I'm missing one.
I'll have to add it on
Uh,
the screen. Look it up.
yeah, I don't know why I'm missing it. Oh, I think it's Paul Ricard. I think
Yes,
it's Paul
it is.
Ricard.
It is.
Yeah, it's Paul
I'm like
Ricard. I think it's after
99% sure.
Spa. Think it right, yeah, yeah, it has to be Park Garden. I think it's
Yeah,
after Spa, something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I've been to all of the tracks, and yeah, except the first two. But yeah, the classic European calendar that I've been there a couple of times. I've been there like 2 seasons.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any sort of other drivers who you think are going to be going for the championship this year? Any people who you think are going to be rivaling you, or are you completely focused on just doing the job, focusing on your own driving and leaving them behind, hopefully?
Yeah, exactly. First of all, I don't even know who else is going to be racing the championship because the complete line entry list for the season, it hasn't been completely disclosed yet. Um, so yeah, and then anyways, regardless, whoever joins, I mean, all I know is I have a really good team. I have really good synergies with them. We have very good mutual understanding, and yeah, I'm very confident in the tests that I've done and in the work that I've done so far, and I'm pretty sure that I'm a very tough, let's say, combination to beat at the moment in the championship, and I'll just focus on that.
I think that sums it up quite nicely. I feel like you're just in such a good place with it, and I'm very happy to be speaking to you in such a kind of I feel like it's a very positive stage where everything is in your favor and it feels like everything's kind of aligning. And I think I'm speaking for any one of your fans, whether they found you from that pit stop podcast or just they're just a fan. I think everyone is really rooting for you to win that championship.
Oh yeah, definitely. I felt that as well. There's so much support, man, that I've gained, and yeah, I mean, it means the world to me. Of course, if I can bring home the championship and those people can, I could share that with my followers, it would be so nice.
I can't wait to share this podcast episode again when you're the Euroformula Open champion.
Oh, yes.
We'll manifest it.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, manifest for sure. I manifest my life always.
We'll just pray nothing goes wrong that's out of your control. And I think we can leave the rest to you because I
Yeah.
think you're going to smash it.
Oh, thanks so much, Gemma.
No worries at all. Well, I feel like that's a nice place to wrap it up, a nice positive
Mm.
moment. Thank you to everyone who has listened. Please manifest this as hard as we just have by leaving a like, leaving a comment, subscribe. 5-star reviews are always welcome. And again, a big thank you to Brad for coming on the podcast, even when he is a little bit sick right now.
Oh, no, a big thank you to you, Gemma, and of course to any of you guys that have sticked around until now. And yeah, and you guys left a like and supported Gemma's podcast as much as you guys could. It would be very nice of you guys, and yeah, and thank you again for everything. It's a pleasure, and see you then next time. Hopefully on our manifesting until the end of the season once I have the championship under my belts.